Hey everyone, it's Happy Chime Noises, and today we're looking at a very interesting Korean player who's playing in Master Tier, but he's playing EVERFROST SION top lane. He's been doing this for quite a while, it's not a recent thing, he's been doing it for a few weeks actually. We can see he's been playing in pretty consistent Master Tier with this build. He's been playing normal Sion for quite a while, but recently he's found this new build that he thinks is better. It takes advantage of some of the AP ratios that Sion has, and then also has Gargoyle Stoneplate to take care of some of the tankiness. He's also taking Glacial Augment, which isn't something you ever see on Sion. So let's get into a game and see how it works. So laning phase, actually pretty normal. He's a Sion main in High Elo, he plays pretty well, he does have Glacial Augment as you can see. So his laning phase is a bit different to most Sion players. Usually it's Phase Rush or Grasp, and so Phase Rush you're going for quick trades and then running away. Grasp you're looking for the extra health. But this guy's goal is a bit different. One thing I noticed in lane is that he doesn't really even get to use Glacial that much. It's kind of a safety tool rather than a playmaking tool for laning phase. In fact, sometimes it looks like he's even charging his Q up just enough to not use it, like he doesn't get the knock-up on purpose. He doesn't want to waste the cooldown because it's such a long cooldown, and so if he doesn't have it for a fight, it's pretty bad. Jax jumps on him, W to block damage, Jax can't do anything. Glacial slowed, he takes most of his health bar as damage just from Sion base damage from his Q. And the Glacial just sort of locks them completely in place, unable to go in any direction. And once you combo that with the Sion knockup, they're CC'd for a really long amount of time. And that's what sets up his level 6 play. So in this game it happens a bit later, they're doing a fight. Sion makes sure his Glacial Augment is up, and he also has ultimate. And so you can see in this play, there's a fight going on. Sion presses R to go through Vigor Cage. Jax is completely locked down inside this slow, he can't go anywhere, he's completely stuck and he's basically dead. And so Sion can do this in lots of different matchups, he can get 1v1 kills with this rune. So if you're playing with Phase Rush as your rune choice, you get the movement speed advantage because you get more movement speed. The enemies don't really get limited so much. But this one is about locking down enemies and making sure they can't go anywhere, not giving yourself the bonus movement speed. Here Sion gets pretty saved actually, he's still very squishy. You can see with his build, he's got the Kindle Gem, which is, and some AP and some mana building into his EVERFROST. The Kindle Gem is a lot better of a component than buying AP early on. But let's quickly talk about why AP Sion can even work. Passive, no magic damage. Q, also no magic damage, but does have very high base AD damage. In fact, Sion doesn't even really need to buy AD to be a threat in terms of damage. Like, the tank build's pretty good just because of how much this ability does. The W, however, it does do magic damage. Most of the scaling is usually max health damage, so Sion usually does a lot with that, but it also has the 40% AP scaling on this. Another ult coming out. You can see the Glacial locking this guy down completely again. Even after the ult had run out, he wouldn't have been able to get away. So yeah, the W has some AP scaling, and then especially the E, 55% AP scaling. So it's a bit of a weird, the ult no AP scaling, it's a bit of a weird way of doing damage. One person suggested in the Wukong AP video I did on the main channel that if you have some AP scaling in your kit, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to just buy a Dark Seal early on, so that at least if you do start snowballing the game, you get the AP ratios off abilities like this, get some extra damage, then just continue with your normal build. But I do believe you can use EVERFROST while you're in Sion passive. Here we see Sion in top lane, his Glacial is down. Good ult though, good kill, not bad. So this is how tanky he is with EVERFROST and just Aegis. He doesn't have boots yet either. Alright, so Sion has EVERFROST, it's up. He has his Glacial up as well. Jax jumps on him. Immediate EVERFROST, can't really miss that. Into a fully charged Q. Jax is still slowed from the Glacial and from his E that whole time. Thanks to the EVERFROST, he's able to get a fully charged Q and E off, and then he can fully charge Q again, hit that, and then his ult is still up as well for more CC. So the EVERFROST lasts long enough, as well as the knockup, for your Q to come all the way back up with this combo. What is the CC chain? There's like 2.25 seconds from this, you got the slow from this, you got the Glacial slow, and you also have the EVERFROST for 1.5 seconds. So it's close to like 5 seconds of CC, or 4 seconds of CC which you can repeat again with your Q. And then you also have your ultimates CC. You can get a ridiculous CC chain with this. Also using it a little bit for wave clear. But you can see whenever Jace goes in like this, Jace is slowed by his E, knocked up by Q. He's taking a lot of chunk damage back. There's basically no way this Jace can stick onto Sion thanks to Glacial and the Q knockup. EVERFROST has been picked up in this game against the Jace. He tags him with the middle part. Even after the CC of EVERFROST runs out, Jace can't really do anything. He's still slowed. EVERFROST into Glacial is a stupid amount of CC. Very weird ult interaction just there. Analyse comes in to KS the kill, nice. Basically a solo kill, I'd say. Jace had no way to escape, he was slowed. Alright, so Scion has his Everfrost, he's 0-4, but he actually is kind of ready to make some plays. Jace get him run down. Everfrost lands in the bush, Jace can't do anything. Auto to death. Lee Sin 1v1. We'll see if the AP damage is enough. Base damage of Q, still pretty good. If he gets the shield explosion off, that'll be some good AP damage. There it is. Pretty hard to lose this 1v1, and especially 1v2. We see the Glacial from Alistar. God, playing against Glacial top lane and Glacial support on a champion like Lee Sin, you have no options of doing anything. Everfrost up again in this fight. Oh, come on, Alistar. This is basically just auto attack damage and then Q damage. You could definitely say that the early game of this build is weaker. He doesn't get any components that are good, really. He just gets cooldown reduction and some health. He does get more mana sustain than usual, so he can use E more often. He does still max W second though, so it's not like he's a poke build. This is where you're doing this build for. Another slow onto Jace, into the Glacial. Jace can barely CS at this point. Jace is inside the wave. I feel like he's gonna die again. Korean Jaces just do stuff like this, guys. Like, this guy looks like he's a gold player, but he's... Korean Jaces just go for things like this. If they die like 6 times in lane, they're gonna die a 7th time. That's what I've noticed from watching these Korean guys. Whatever they're playing, they're not gonna lose lane gracefully. They want to see if they can get a counter kill. So how does this pick fight? Ulting through the cage again, really good knockups. Basically just like normal Scion, except he has some extra tools. His Glacial wasn't up in that fight, or you can imagine that MF would also have died. It's a bit like you have an extra option for fishing. I think, like Scion, if he ults and he misses, he's basically useless. Like, team fighting with Scion is one of the hardest picks actually, because if you miss your ultimate and you're behind enemies, you're just dead. As you can really tell, it's very important that Glacial is up when these fights are starting, otherwise the build seems a bit weird. And Everfrost for some more chain CC. Echo just can't go anywhere. Man, this seems really annoying to play against. I kinda like it. You can see he's definitely not as tanky as Tank Scion. And that's one of the reasons why he's going Aegis into the Gargoyle Stoneplate. Good play by Galio. Gargoyle Stoneplate is like fake tankiness. It's a very efficient item to buy because you don't need to stack lots of Scion, come on. He must be sitting on a lot of gold right now. He's picked up his Gargoyles, second item. He's also got cooldown reduction boots. It's just for the ability haste. So he gets more casts of Q, I think. Glacial through everyone, you can't cancel that. You can always cancel Sion's Q with CC, but you can't cancel the Glacial hitting you. So that's kind of one of the options you have against Sion that just disappears with this build. It's interesting. You're still tanking tower, buddy. He takes a lot of unnecessary damage, this guy, sometimes. Ooh, that was some burst. That was just Scion Q, maybe Esrog Q. He messes up a flash ult combo, misses his Augment. Oh my god, but the Gargoyles comes out clutch, and they kill everyone. That was a pretty huge shield, considering he doesn't have very much health. You can see how he's using it to bait. Yeah, I think this build's really interesting. It's so different to normal Scion, you do so many different things. So how does this compare to the other build? So we have the full tank Scion, it's probably the best one, if we're honest, like the most consistent. Take Grasp, you're pretty great in lane, you get a ton of farm, you become a really strong front line, but your Q still does a ton of damage, you got some great CC. Then we have the full AD version with Prowler's Claw, pretty good. A lot of the power is in your passive, so when you die you're still quite useful and you want to save Prowler's Claw for that. And so a lot of the time you're trying to get a kill 1v1 in the side lane and win the game through that. If you do join teamfights, you're going to die most of the time, and then you use your passive to still be useful. The Everfrost version is probably different to both of them. You're not really a tank frontliner. In a way you still are, you have a lot of health with this build. What you do have, okay, that should have hit, that Everfrost. What you do have in this build is you have the more options. So you have the option to Everfrost people. Oh, I can't get out that way either, unlucky. Your passive isn't very useful with this build. He does manage to get his team of Baron though, so pretty good death. So yeah, the advantage of this build over the other two is that your plays are easier to make because you have the Everfrost, you can just throw it out every 15 seconds or whatever it is. It's a really low cooldown. If it lands, then you can charge up your full charge Q, no problem. You have enough time for it. You can always hit a slow if you need to. You're reasonably tanky, because Scion will always be reasonably tanky thanks to his W. Your AD damage sucks, as with any build that isn't full AD. But your W and E damage, not too bad. You're not really building Everfrost for anything except what he does right there though. The Gargoyles doesn't keep him alive this time. Gargoyles I like Gargoyles is a lot better than lots of the other tank items, so people just don't use it at the right time, and so you don't get all the value out of it. And I like this build. I'd say that it's probably not as good as tank. I'd say it's probably just as good as AD if you use it in the right way. You can still get solo kills. You're a bit more utility based. So if your team lacks CC, then especially it would be good for them. And if you want to just surprise people, then you don't want to go AD anymore. People have seen AD Sion, you're going to be 0-10. They know that they're going to win that game. AP Sion, they don't know about it yet. AD Sion is old news. AP Sion is the future. Thanks so much for watching.